this town hall, a friendly town hall that Trump was doing last night, where he only took a handful of questions. And then most of it looked more like this, where he was with the South Dakota governor, Kristi Noem. I mean, it was over half an hour that they were up there. He was requesting songs on little pieces of paper. His aides were tweeting about it in defense. But it was this weird moment where, I mean, we are 38 weeks out from a very close election, and
it was weird. I mean, I don't know of another word to describe last night. It was weird. And he does weird things like this. And he usually does them in private, or he does them with aides, or he does them on the Mar-a-Lago patio when he's DJing on an iPad. This was a rare time that people were seeing this in public. I think what happened was he got anxious because people were getting sick, and it was delaying the event. At the second Butler rally, people got sick twice, and you could see him get a little anxious when it was taking a very long time to make sure that they were okay. He went over at one point to talk to the Secret Service to ask if they could open the doors. The answer was no. So I think that he said, let's play the music. And I know he said, let's play the music so that people would start leaving, but then nobody left. And then they were all sort of swaying along with him, and then he was feeding off what they were doing. And you know this very well. The music thing is a big thing for him. It was how people would basically reset him in the White House.
Good morning. You don't mind if I just dance for 30 minutes or so?
Yes. Chris, play Ave Maria.
Okay, right.
I've always wanted to watch Carl first sway for 40 minutes.
I am so disappointed in you. You know, the liberal media, here we go again, talking about how Trump said he was the father of IVF. That's not what he said. He said he was the father of IBS, which is an entirely different thing.
Oh, okay.
Carl made a poo-poo joke. Yay. Okay. So, Carl, where do you come down on? I know Rude Pundit was like, yeah, well, you know, why go on Fox News? And, you know, obviously Chris and Jody, everybody. I mean, she did great. It's not that I don't think I knew she would do great, but oh my God. It's just what we thought it would be. He's playing for an audience of one, Trump, doing Trump talking points, interrupting her constantly, yep. Right?
Yeah, I don't think that they walked into it thinking that would not happen. I think it serves two purposes. One, we have to remember that a lot of people who watch cable news are not glued to it all day long, right? They're passing it by in the airport, they're at a bar, whatever, right? They're catching 10 minutes of it. Not to mention also the clips that will get picked up by other networks. So there's that. The other thing I would say is that why does Pete Buttigieg go on Fox News, right? He goes on because it excites Democrats to see people fighting back on Fox News.
But I mean,
and
I guess
turnout's important.
I guess my point is I feel like the bulk of Fox News viewers, they just want to see people be mean to liberals. I mean, that's the whole point of inviting.
That is it.
They just wanted to see him be a bag of D's to the black lady.
Their core demographic, yes, the people that turn it on in the morning and don't turn it off all day.
Right.
Absolutely. But there are a lot of people who encounter cable news in other ways. And, you know, I think it's good to show, you know, she's very much pushing back on this narrative that she's not accessible. Meanwhile, Trump keeps canceling appearances.
Right.
Right. My understanding is that he's not going on NBC because they wouldn't give him the full 30 minutes to sway to Jeff Buckley.
You're a scamp, Carl.
Charles?
What?
Wait,
I'm sorry. I'm tired. Carl, here's Rick Stengel tweeted, polls can predict a lot of things, but one thing they cannot predict is turnout, #vote. I mean, this is what you always tell us that at this point. I mean, sure, I just did a bunch of them to placate us that, you know, she's up in all of the national polls that are out now. But again, that really doesn't matter at this point, does it? I think the numbers that probably are exciting to you as a former campaign strategist is turnout numbers, the number of, you know, breaking records in early voting in Georgia and elsewhere, right?
I think that's very good news. Yeah, and you know the thing I would say to everybody is if you're waiting to vote until election day, you're doing it wrong.
Thank you, Chris LeBoy.
You know, what are you going to do if you get struck by a car a week before the election and can't get out of the hospital for election day?
And also, it frees up resources for to get out the vote for other.
It also makes it easier to get people through the line when they're showing up on election day that couldn't vote early. I mean, there's just any number of reasons that voting early is important, and you can check to make sure that your ballot has been received and will be processed, so you don't have to worry about.
You have time to cure it if something. Yeah, that's right. I voted the same day I got my ballot, Carl. Hang on.
I like the lady to hand me my sticker.
You are a bad American. Anyway, Carl.
Go do that. Go vote early in person. They'll give you a sticker.
Yes. Do
They'll
it.
give you two
Let go
if you
election
smile.
day. Let go election day.
But I mean, so that's the first thing. The first thing is that. The second thing I would say is that, look, the polls have been off about Democratic enthusiasm ever since Dobbs. So it's something worth keeping in mind that on average, I think about 2% off every special election that we've had since the Dobbs decision. And we also saw what happened in 2022 when everybody thought there was going to be a red wave. So polls are an interesting thing to watch. But the more you're watching a poll, the less you're out knocking doors.
Yeah. Well, and also, is J.D. Vance on his 20th non-answer to Roe v. Wade? And, but here's the thing. Let's take one state, his state, Ohio. Ohio women 50 and older are headed to the polls. Having lived through the days before Roe v. Wade was legalized, it has, in fact, galvanized older women voters in the weeks leading up to the November election. U.S. Senate candidate there, Bernie Moreno, that douche.
Yep.
His comments about abortion rights and the interests of suburban women have been used in ads against him. What is with the bashing of menopausal women, postmenopausal women, Carl? Because first of all, I got news for you. We vote.
Yeah.
Older women vote. And it's just between J.D. Vance saying the only purpose is to take care of grandkids and Bernie Moreno saying, oh, what do you care? You can't have kids anymore anyway. They just don't get that, a lot of women live in a society and have daughters and granddaughters and sisters, right?
What's weird to me is that it seems like just years ago we were talking about appealing to soccer moms and soccer dads and how to slice up the electorate to appeal to different demographics. Now we're seeing Republicans chop women into categories and then systematically assault each category as they
childless women, menopausal women. I mean, it's just it's insane. Sherrod Brown, last I saw there, is up narrowly over Moreno, but he is a fantastic senator. Please turn out for Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Here's another one. Arizona's 15-week abortion ban is projected to cost the state billions every year, with women forced out of the labor market as a result of inadequate reproductive health care. They think the economic hit to Arizona could be high as $3.4 billion annually. I mean,
and that doesn't even take into consideration the cost of the healthcare system with all the complications that come along with forcing women to carry non-viable fetuses. So there's lots of issues at play here. What about families that will move out of a state because it's not, doesn't trust families to make decisions for themselves. So I think that there's a lot that people will be surprised by when we look at exit polls on election, after the election.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. And so every day people need to be doing something to move the ball forward. The only reason that we're even at the place that we are in this election with Kamala Harris leading and raising $1 billion and all these other things is because we've not let off the gas.
Yeah.
That needs to be the mantra for the next 3 weeks.
It occurs to me this whole, like you were saying, trying to separate people. I didn't even know how you phrased that, but just the whole, we live in a society. We always say, yes, we're all childless dog and cat ladies and men here. But, we pay taxes for your kids to go to school because we live in a society.
Right.
Postmenopausal women care about other women's abortion rights, even though it's, thank God a lot of people care, Carl, about you and I. We have the right to marry who we want, even though they're not gay. I mean, isn't that the whole point of a society? And it's I think Kamala Harris says it best about lifting people up instead of beating them down.
Well, I think it speaks to the empathy gap between the political sides, right? Some people can't fathom why somebody who doesn't have kids or isn't married or whatever would care about other people. And that's just so foreign to, a lot of people on the left. This notion that you wouldn't care about people because you don't have a shared experience is just nuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of the women vote, our friend Jess Piper, who is so fantastic at Kansas City, sexy liberal, she tweeted, white women, your vote is private. I don't care what kind of sign your husband has put out in your yard or what your pastor preaches on Sunday. You can vote your conscience. You can vote your children and grandchildren. No one will know. I think she was responding to some maggot guy going, ladies, women, you better do the right thing and, vote for Trump or whatever. I mean, it does show finally white women are trending toward Harris for the first time, which I'm taking credit for that.
It's been an interesting thing to watch. I think Trump won white women by 6 or 7 points in 2016. And then he may have won it by a point in 2020. And now I think they're showing Harris ahead by 7 among white women, much larger over all women. But, so it's an interesting shift. And I think that'll play well for the suburban vote, which is why when you start looking at the turnout that we're seeing in Georgia, for example, in suburban Atlanta, it's very encouraging.
Yeah.
Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. I hope you'll join me on my new audio podcast, Justice Matters. I'll be using my 30 years as a federal prosecutor and Army JAG to unpack, break down, and explain the legal issues of the day, particularly where the legal intersects with the political. Please look for Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner wherever you generally get your podcasts.